Hi, thank you so much for joining me. Happy holidays. My name is Kate Skinner. I'm the creator of Hypermobility Solutions and founder of Great Divide Physical Therapy. And today I'm going to be talking to you about winter sports. I get a lot of questions about winter sports, and where I live in Montana, we are full on into winter, so I thought it'd be a great thing to bring up for a Friday. Now, most of the questions I tend to get about winter sports really have to do with should I, can I, is that a good idea? And so often, like many of the things hypermobility related, it's really not a yes or no. It has a lot more to do with your skill level, your symptom level, where you're at, what the situation is. So I thought it'd be great to just have a conversation over some of the different types of winter sports and what to think about if you're looking to do them. Now, the first one I'd talk about is cross-country skiing or Nordic skiing. That's pretty popular where I live, and it's a great activity for hypermobility. It's low impact, you get good cardio exercise, you get good strength. It really tends to work well. Now, once in a while, I'll find that people end up having more issues with knee pain. And if that happens, I usually really have people focus on their technique, making sure that they're moving from their hips and not just from their lower leg. Make sure that they're not overusing their arms, and usually it works out pretty well. So that would be a good option. Now, one of the other ones that's really popular around here is downhill skiing. And that's something I enjoy doing as well. Now, downhill really depends on whether or not you already know how to ski. Now, for a lot of people, if you grew up skiing, if you're a good skier, if you have good technique, downhill skiing is great. It's good strength, you don't have as much impact, or you can control the impact that you have. But if you've never skied before, or you're looking at a new sport to pick up and try, downhill is a tough one to learn, mostly because there's a lot of falling involved. And falling is really hard on hypermobility. Now, one of the things you do have to watch is, even if you are a good skier, be careful of the fatigue issue. I know I had this quite a few years ago, where one of the worst wrecks I had was just at the end of the day. And it was right next to the lodge. It wasn't terrain, it wasn't anything difficult or challenging. I just got fatigued. And then with getting fatigued, my ski caught an edge and I went down, dislocated my kneecap, gave myself a black eye. It was lovely. But it makes it hard to get up and go after that, but it all got better. But that tends to be the bigger thing, not the getting down the mountain, but if you get too tired, things do get a little bit tougher. Now, I get questions on skiing versus snowboarding. Snowboarding is actually physically easier if you're hypermobile, because your feet are fixed, your ankles are fixed. It's more of a weight shift change. Rather than having to control your limbs in 3 dimensions. And so it actually can be a better option for hypermobility. Now, the learning curve on snowboarding can be a little bit tougher. So if you're going that route, be prepared for a lot of falls, a lot of soreness, a lot of pushing yourself up off the ground. And so again, if you grew up snowboarding and you already know how to do it, then it's great. But if not, may not be the sport you want to take on, especially if you're over 40. Now, terrain-wise, the biggest thing is to be smart, to ski or snowboard at a level that you are comfortable doing, and being careful about impact and those higher potential situations for falls and wrecks. So, definitely just being smarter about it and making sure that you have a fun day and you're getting back to the lodge easily. Ice skating, that is another big sport. That is a tough one for a lot of people with hypermobility. It takes a lot of strength, and when you don't have good joint stability, it is harder. So if you do go, pick hockey skates over figure skates. That'll make your experience a little bit easier, which is always a good thing. And if you've never done it before, be prepared to fall. And that's another thing where, falling is just hard on hypermobility. So just kind of be aware. The act of skating itself is actually good. It uses a lot of strength and really works pretty well. It's just having the strength you need to be able to do it in the first place and getting through that learning curve. Now, sledding is another activity that happens a lot. Doesn't take any skill, you just gotta be able to get on a sled and be willing to ride it downhill. This is one that, again, wrecks that are unplanned in various directions, really tough on a hypermobile body. So not really recommended, but of course there's also variations, smaller hills, smaller grade, directions where you're not gonna wreck. It's a gentler slide down the hill. That may be just fine. So if you wanna take your kids sledding, just be smart about where you're going, and you can probably get away with it quite well. Now, general cold, remember, keep your neck warm, keep your head warm. That'll help keep your body temperature regulated a little bit better, keeps you from tensing up too much through your neck. Those are all good things. And doing too much standing around in the cold, ice fishing, that is actually really hard on a hypermobile body, mostly because you have cold and you also have a lack of movement. You kind of will do better if you have some motion with it. Staying in one place for someone hypermobile is actually really difficult, so adding cold to that tends to be tough. Even things like, out here we'll do things like bonfires. Those are great, but be prepared to stand and move around. I hope everyone has a wonderful holiday. Stay warm this winter. Hopefully you can get out and enjoy some wonderful winter weather. And if you are outside on slick surfaces, yak tracks or your favorite kind of ice skates will be your friend. It makes it a lot easier to move around if you have that extra support. And if you happen to be in somewhere where you have deep snow, snowshoeing, be careful about snowshoeing. It's a lot of large movements, large forces, really hard on backs and hips. So stick closer to a more well-made trail. Have a wonderful week. Please continue to send me your questions. I love seeing them. And I hope everyone has a wonderful new year.